Surf's Up fam, I'm your host, Corey Shane Brown. It is Surf's Up intention to resonate with the listeners of the San Diego community and communities beyond by sharing the stories of the creators and entrepreneurs we meet in order to discover the keys to unlocking our shared potential and inspiring others on how to develop themselves in order to live a more balanced life. This will in turn raise the community and ultimately inspire listeners to live a life of personal sovereignty and financial freedom. Before we begin, I'd kindly request that you hit the subscribe button, and if you like what you hear, give us a like and or comment down below, and hit that notification bell for upcoming episodes. All feedback is welcome. If you would like to support us, there is a Patreon link as well as affiliate links to the equipment used to produce Surf's Up podcasts in the description. If you feel inspired to create a podcast of your own, this is likely the most cost-effective way to do so. I receive a small commission without any additional cost to you. Without further ado, I would like to thank you for dropping in with us and welcome to Surf's Up Podcast. Surf's Up Podcast, Episode 12. He was once a biolab technician just out of college, but his passion for music and his talents for financial literacy have led him to a more interesting and diverse life. Please join me in welcoming Alex Villalobos, aka VEZY.
Hey, what's going on, man? Thanks for being on the...
What's up, dude? How you doing?
Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. So I want to start out with your origin story. You grew up in San Diego, right?
Yeah, I'm San Diego native, born and raised. I've lived in LA, lived in San Francisco. I'm from a single family or a single parent family. My mom kind of raised me. Dad was kind of out of the picture. So in second grade, I went through some testing and came up with some pretty high aptitudes. So my mom thought, hey, it'd be good to put him into music. And in third grade, I did clarinet for third and fourth grade, and that wasn't really the best.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of kids just in the auditorium, kind of blowing on some instruments, but the parents were like, yay, it sounds so good.
Yeah.
But fifth grade, I did piano, and in middle school, I started doing guitar lessons, and it was junior high and high school that I kind of got into DJing and kind of understood a little bit more of the electronic music scene.
Interesting. So when was your first time on a Pioneer?
That came a couple years later, but my first real experience with disc jockey or spinning, is what they used to call it back then. Those terms like spinner aren't really around now because it's kind of more of a digital thing. Yeah. But we would have one turntable, and we had a radio, and we only had a very, very few selection of records like Beastie Boys, Puff Daddy, Notorious, but these were the records that would like get it going at the time. And we would listen to the radio, like, Jam and Z 9091X, and listen to something on the radio and then cue up the record and then slowly turn the volume down on the radio and turn the volume up on the on the turntable. And that was my first experience of actually mixing, and that was actually in 8th grade.
That's cool.
Pretty much changed the game completely when we did that.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard the term, but like no one DJ'd where I was from. Like it wasn't a thing. People played instruments. There's a lot of people in bands and stuff, but never anything like that. Cool. So, and then you got into finances.
Yeah, so my mom was...
Or you had an interest in finances? Yeah,
so my mom was a registered nurse, and after she kind of grew up in the women's civil right kind of era, I think in the 60s, 70s, and so for her, she was one of the first women to transition from like a registered nurse job to like a corporate job. So she did insurance, annuities, stocks, and things like that. And naturally, because of that being the family business, I kind of took that over as a career, more likely after school, because that just kind of generated more money than my lab job.
Gotcha. So out of school, you were a biolab technician, correct?
Yes, I worked for a startup. We did kidney cell research. I really did not like it. I ended up in a laboratory that was doing preclinical trials non-FDA approved drugs, and I just really didn't
so
like
monotonous work with statistics.
Yeah,
work.
it was. I did.
That's where I got off when I was in college. I was doing psychology, and when I got to the part where I had to do stats and crunch numbers on research, I was just like, this is no fun anymore. Like, I don't know, it lost its appeal completely. So I kind of know what you mean.
I did it. It was a good job out of college. You know, it was good, and I for the time being. But then they're like, oh, you're gonna probably need a PhD if you really want to be in like medicine. And it's like I never wanted to be in medicine.
Yeah.
So I did insurance for a couple years, but I've always had my musical talents. I've always been able to do shows and play in front of people.
When was your first like gig, or had you already been doing that from high school?
So I would say high school probably was the most notable gig. There was a football team. Our football team threw a party, and the cheerleaders helped like coordinate it, and we had like the richest guy in school with the biggest house like threw this kegger like on his tennis court. And we actually had a band set up, and I brought the turntables, and I was like 16 years old. I graduated high school when I was 16, like part of that aptitude. So yeah, they invited me out. I had the records. I had, at that point I did have a mixer. I did have techniques, and we threw it down, and it was a success. People were like, this is really dope what you do. And, you know, I've always just, through my musical training, I guess, just kind of knew how music was supposed to be layered.
Yeah.
And, so I have this kind of niche for doing new, untried things, and I like doing that with records because I think with instruments, you know, the sky's the limit as far as what you can put electronically into like a track
for sure,
like a project. It's like you can really make any type of sound.
Do you produce?
Yeah, I do Ableton. I do Logic. Been doing more authentic remixes inside of Ableton, bootlegs. Been working on getting more tracks on Spotify and iTunes. So probably in the next year or less, we'll probably start seeing.
And what is your name on Spotify?
I was going by just my last name Villalobos, but it was kind of a mouth workaround, so I just started going by VEZY.
Okay.
And I feel like that's a lot easier now.
So if people want to find you on Spotify, it's under VEZY?
Yeah, it's going to be VEZY.
VEZY. Cool. And same thing, is it just on Spotify, or are you on other platforms?
We haven't launched yet, but we've started our distro kit, so we're going to have our tracks up pretty soon here.
And who is we? Is this Pacific Theory that you're talking about?
Yeah, so we could talk a little bit about Pacific Theory. Yeah. Pacific Theory is a collective of about 12 DJs, and the pretty professional people. They're all really good individuals all throughout the nation, not just from California. We've got people from East Coast. We've got people from, you know, Midwest all the way to, you know, West Coast. It was originally just kind of like a club or just like a meeting that people wanted to do on a Wednesday, and we wanted to keep each other accountable. We just wanted to just say like, hey, you know, we got the whole week that people usually have their 9-to-5 jobs, and it can kind of get boring and monotonous through that. So on a Wednesday, we would say like, hey, let's get together and get a bunch of artists that think alike and keep each other accountable and kind of keep the momentum going from the buzz that you feel from like a Sunday or a Saturday, and push that into the next Friday. So we would talk about, you know, previous events, and then we would talk about upcoming events, what things we can do better. We'd make a new track every week. So it's really cool to be with a group like this because everybody really is like watching each other's back. And I really feel that with this team versus some other collectives or groups that I've been in.
Gotcha. So you guys, no one's like, sounds like you guys aren't taking a week off. It's just a constant flow of energy into like event to event.
Yeah, I mean it is. It really has sparked so much interest, and we're starting to get messages constantly every day of people wanting like other artists, people that are like, we want to come to your shows. This pandemic has just been it's been interesting. So we've been doing,
you were doing the streaming thing for a bit, right?
Yeah, so we did Twitch. We had a residency over at Avenue, which is in Pacific Beach. And the guys over there, Travis and Paris, they're really, really cool. And they're like, hey, Alex, if you want to come and start doing the live streams during this whole pandemic, you know, we can, you know, get you our Twitch account and like I said, keep that going. That's kind of stopped a little bit now that we're in 2021.
Okay.
But last year, that thing was just flying.
That's awesome. And so when did crypto like come into your frame of mind?
Oh, wow.
2017 when everything was booming, or were you in it before that?
That's always the story is like, hey, what's going on with this cryptocurrency and Bitcoin?
I know, especially now. Everybody that knows that a little bit about it, they come out of the woodwork and they're like,
dude,
how can I get involved?
I get DMs all the time about this.
Every day.
And I keep telling people, no more free advice.
Yeah, so
yeah.
Tell them about Fat Green Candles.
Okay, so I'll start a little bit with my first endeavor with Bitcoin. I was living downtown at Vantage Point, and I had a friend.
What year?
This was like back in 2012.
Oh, okay.
And so he came at me and he's like, oh, Alex, you got to check out this Bitcoin. It's just like this decentralized platform where it's going to be a global currency and it's not controlled by banks. And like there's, it's kind of like a tax haven and a hedge fund against, inflation. And I was just like, all right, this is over my head. Didn't really pay attention to it. And I was like kind of looking at him and he was kind of using it. And so I was like, okay, like, what is this? He's like, well, it's like $50 now, but it like was 100 yesterday. And then like last night it was at 20, it just flies, but you can make money off of it. And I was like, okay, so I didn't really quite pay attention to it. And then 2013.
$20 Bitcoin? That'd be a dream right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so 2013, it started to get some actual traction with the media coverage, and it was in the news. There was a couple of things that popped up on the dark web that were kind of an interest to the U.S. government. So it was in the news. And since I had some exposure from him, I was just like, look, this. I actually read the white paper back then.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I mean, it's multiple technologies wrapped up in one. And I couldn't understand it. And when I started looking at it, there was people all over the world that were like PhDs in computer sciences, in all they were trained to understand this, and they couldn't even understand it. But when you threw the algorithms into a computer, the math checked out. And so I looked at that and I was just like, this is actually something that is going to work.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, every single number adds up. And so I started kind of using it, and my first dabble was with Coinbase. I think a lot of us, that's the that's like the gateway into crypto is through Coinbase. So
I didn't realize Coinbase was that old.
Yeah, I mean there were before there was like Mt. Gox. There was not only very few exchanges where you could get Bitcoin. Yeah. And with Mt. Gox, it took several days. It was multiple steps. Like you had a MoneyGram or some sort of wire transfer to some offshore account, and then that took 3 or 4 days. And then once it was in that account, you had to transfer it again, and then that took a couple of days, and then you could finally exchange it for Bitcoin. And even when you got your Bitcoin, it took them several days to get it into your wallet. So the process has very much changed. Now that you have Cash App available, Cash App is probably the easiest way to get crypto in the United States.
Or PayPal.
Yeah, even rightfully so. Like both of those systems have just shown how much it's grown and how much easier it is to use this technology.
Yeah, the influx of money into the whole crypto space since what was it, August or whenever PayPal and Cash App allowed for it to be bought, it's gone through the roof.
Yeah, so
which was the perfect time because there was a dip in the market right in August.
So 2013, I actually made some money. I was just like, okay, like I kind of understood about it, and then Coinbase was up and running. So
just in appreciating value, or were you trading?
Kind of doing a little bit of day trading, and I still was talking with my friend, and he was really involved in the news, and he always had the motto, what was it?
Buy the rumor, sell the news.
Yeah, buy the rumor, sell the news. So he would like say like, hey, there's something happening like in the SEC today. They're going to court about this, and usually that would like make the price drop.
Yeah.
Or if like some new company came out with something that's like, hey, we're accepting Bitcoin, that would make the price go up.
Yeah.
So he was really kind of in the know as far as how that this was going to work in the market, especially at a small age. And we all know if Amazon accepts Bitcoin, which it will, we're going to see like a $100,000, $250,000 price tag on this.
Yeah, you're not lying. That's going to happen fast.
It's going to happen. I mean, it's only a matter of time until Amazon accepts it as payments. And then once Amazon accepts it, it's going to be more probably globally accepted.
Yeah. I was using a different VPN, but it kept like dropping out, even though I had an internet kill switch, which was a pain in the ass. And so I looked at getting NordVPN or ExpressVPN yesterday, and ExpressVPN doesn't, but well, they accept Bitcoin, but NordVPN accepts like everything, like Monero, Ripple, Litecoin. Like you can get NordVPN with anything, and I know that like for buying like certain kinds of merchandise, I think the Miami Dolphins accept Litecoin, so like it's becoming adopted like all over the U.S.
Yeah, I think Elon Musk just started saying Tesla was going to accept crypto.
I think so.
So you can buy a Tesla now in Bitcoin, which is great.
Yeah, which people that are buying Teslas, they all have money.
Yep.
So yeah, that's going to be a game changer.
So what you mentioned Fat Green Candles. So Fat Green Candles is a platform, company service that I provide, and it's basically a group. There's a person in the
Facebook group.
Yeah, there's a person in the community. His name's Andreas Anatopoulos, and he kind of terms himself as the explainer, as someone that kind of goes throughout the world and kind of explains to businesses, individuals, corporations, governments even, like how this technology is going to work. And the bottom line is that it does work, and it's it's a global innovation. Same with like the electric motor. This is something that benefits society. This is something that is a positive invention that people are going to start to use, or whether or not you think you're using it, you're going to be using it. The same thing like with the internet. You don't need to know HTML protocol or BIP backend processing to know how to send an email.
Yeah.
You just have to click the button, and we're not quite there yet with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a little complicated as far as knowing the private keys, public addresses, getting your hot wallets and stuff. There's some terminology there, and we're not quite there where it's just going to be a push of a button and you're going to be using Bitcoin.
Yeah,
but
it's getting way more streamlined. Like I've had to move my entire like portfolio like a couple times, and like just from one wallet to another. And like once you get the process down, it's like second nature to you. It's just like copy and paste. But yeah, definitely the learning curve at first is like, dude, I got to do this every time. Like
there is definitely a big learning curve,
but it's really like not that far off from feeling like Venmo at this point to me. Like it's just
right.
Yeah. It's just like two more steps like longer.
So Fat Green Candles occurred in 2016, 2017, when there was another really large influx of Bitcoin going mainstream, more adoption, and Bitcoin's price was over $1,000. And because of, like I said, my knowledge from 2013, I had some friends like constantly hitting me up like, hey, like I want to set this up. It's like it's just flying, and it's still kind of a complicated process. And so the first step I was like saying was like, look, set up a wallet, link a bank account to there, transfer money into this account, they'll exchange it to Bitcoin. And then it was like, well, now what? It's like, now you can use this for like services and goods. And they're like, well, like what? And I was like, well, for example, send me one Litecoin and I'll show you how to set up these accounts. Yeah. Litecoin was $25 at that time. So I was thinking like, oh, cool, I'm getting $25 an hour to like helps people set up Bitcoin. That kind of took off, and multiple people, and at that point, Litecoin's price was going up to 40, 50, 60, 70. Yeah. And I was just saying, look, the admission price is one Litecoin. It's not in US dollars. And part of that was to teach people the value of this. Yeah. That we're going to start looking at the inflation price of dollars and seeing how cryptocurrency is a finite supply. And there's a whole backstory of that we're probably not going to have time for this, but just for sakes of what Fat Green Candles is, I was advocating going out being for one Litecoin. You can join this team, and it's not just me, it's multiple people all over the world. We've got stock investors, we've got millionaires, we've got people in Bali, we've got day traders, people that do technical analysis, all sorts of walks of life of people getting involved in crypto space. So it's built a community of people that you can trust, that that are friends that you can count on, that if you want to send
the community, not just Fat Green Candles, but I'm in like 5 different groups, and just being in those groups and seeing the community and seeing when you have a question, you can just search those groups, and someone's probably already asked the question. You can like really, you can get somewhere so much faster having the community, you know, having your back. And technical analysis was definitely a steep learning curve, but having people like Crypto Revolution on YouTube and stuff like teach me how to like, you know, use RSI or MACD in conjunction with the price action, like made a huge difference to knowing when to buy and like not just looking at a price one day and comparing it to a price a different day. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, what I'd say about cryptocurrency is there's so many applications to it. If you're talking about a system that's not controlled by a government, not controlled by a bank, is basically individually owned by every single person that uses it. It's borderless, censorship resistant, it's permissionless. If you're talking about a system like that, it's extremely valuable because our current money system is just very outdated. Yeah. If you're trying to send money across seas, it could take several days. At any point, a government can seize your money, you know, for your own good, you know, depending if they think that you're using your money ill-wised or, you know, legitimate. A government can seize your bank accounts. That's not really possible with Bitcoin. So if you look at it that way, then Bitcoin is extremely undervalued. Yeah. And people really don't understand the gravity of what that can do. If you're looking at it as a speculative investment, yes, this is probably a technology that is a good bet. And, you know, I want to say that because we're not financial advisors. Our credentials are not in that. But, yeah. You know, Bitcoin is a global innovation. This is something for everybody. It's not just for the rich people. It's not just for poor people. It's really for everybody on the planet. And that's what I see in it.
Especially, like I've seen some documentaries and stuff on like the unbanked in like Africa and stuff, like where there is no banks.
There's just
but they have the internet.
This is the only option for them.
Yeah,
they have access to a smartphone more than they have access to a bank.
Yeah,
and so like again, if you're looking at that, then the use of this is just endless. And what Ethereum has done by being able to program smart contracts, I like to give my example. Like in the future, like let's say it's a Sunday night, and there's a car parked on the side of the road, and the car is for sale. You can put a QR code on that on the window, and with that QR code, you can pay for the car. Like if the car is $20,000, you can send cryptocurrency to the person's account. It will transfer the DMV title, the insurance, the registration, and it'll be done in seconds. And
when you explained that very thing to me, I was like, oh, like that is value. It's like it's literally like using Venmo today to buy a car, but you also get all the paperwork in a click of a button.
All in the click of a button. And
no more DMV.
If you wanted to do that today, you'd have to, you know, get your DMV paperwork.
Smog.
You'd have to go to the insurance company. You'd have to go to the banks. You'd have to sit there. And this was all done without intermediaries. And that, like I said, a little bit of how blockchain works is probably another conversation. But for what I do with Fat Green Candles, it's essentially I'm an advocate. It's a consulting, but it's also a community. So the products that we offer with Fat Green Candles is I kind of go in as a consultant, set up accounts, and it takes a lot of time. I've sat down with some business owners in Colorado, and it takes 3 days sometimes for them to kind of be even able to have access to this.
Yeah.
Because of all the steps that's necessary to set it up. And that's one of the issues that it has, is because it's still in those, you know, growing pain days where it's just not as easy as swiping a Visa like on a, you know, at the grocery store.
Yeah.
But it is going to get to that one day.
Yeah, and it's more secure. Because, I mean, dude, there was one summer, I don't know how many times I had to get a new bank card. I got a new bank card like 4 or 5 times in like 2 months because someone had a keylogger on like one of those machines at 7-Eleven, and with cryptocurrency that just like wouldn't be the case. Besides that, what are you doing now? Are you day trading, or are you just leaving your investments where they are and more like focusing on consulting with people? Or
I think right now we're trying to do more. We're definitely trying to get more people into the community, and so we're trying to just get the message across. You know, this technology is going to change you. It's going to make your life better.
Yeah.
You know, it makes everything easier as far as payment systems. Visa is now getting involved with it. So factoring candles, yeah, if you're interested, send us a DM and we can get you kind of started as far as getting accounts set up. There's so much more to this than just investing. You know, like I said, what you can do with smart contracts, what you can do with staking, generating other types of currencies. You can start your own currency. And I think that that's probably where Factoring Candles is going to offer our next service. Is we're going to start launching currencies for individuals. So if you're if you're a musician, the current system is you have to upload your tracks to either like iTunes or Spotify, use those third-party intermediaries, and then they pay you. With cryptocurrencies and other platforms that are decentralized, you're going to basically be getting support directly from your supporters. You're not going to be using all of these other companies that take a percentage out of your commissions.
Yeah.
So if I want to go buy a track from an artist, I can go send him Music Coin, and that's going to go directly to him. And then he's going to give me the key so that I can download like one song off the internet.
I like that idea.
So, you know, what we want to try to do is probably starting cryptocurrencies. And you know, there's an example that Andreas, uses, and that is even in a kindergarten class, kids use currencies.
Do you know if Beatport or any of those accept cryptocurrency?
Probably not yet. But
I bet they're not far off.
They're not far off. Everybody at this point has heard it. It's, back in 2013, no one had even heard about Bitcoin, but nowadays it's a household item. Whether or not you've used it, downloaded the software, used the program, people know what Bitcoin is.
I think the borderless part of it that you talk about, I think that is one of the most important parts for our global economy, because once payments don't have to be cleared by banks between like a business here and a business in the United Kingdom or anywhere in Europe or China. Well, I don't know if I don't know if we're doing like business with China right now, but you know what I'm saying. Is just the fact that those payments can clear so quickly. Our global economy is going to speed up like to unheard of levels, I believe. It
really just opens up the door of what you can do as a business or as a consumer, getting your products straight from the source instead of relying on so many third parties that are taking a piece of the pie of every step. A lot of people don't know that when you go to Starbucks and swipe your Visa card for a latte, you're really dealing with 7 different businesses. You're dealing with the front end processing, a clearinghouse, the Federal Reserve. You're dealing with the merchant, the customer. There's the card association. All of these people are taking a dip of that transaction. Yeah. And you're not dealing directly just with Starbucks. There's this whole...
So do you believe that using cryptocurrency will reduce the price of many goods?
It's going to reduce the price of many goods, and it's also going to make more goods available to people, because a lot of people that are, like you were saying, the unbanked, they don't have a fair access to money. They have to go to a bank, and the bank has to say, like, you're credit worthy, you're vetted, you're responsible enough to have money. And the real principle here is that money should be a human right. Yeah. Just like oxygen. Like, you should have a right to money. You should have a right to spend it. And people should not have a right to suspend your money. Yeah. Like I said, if you do something bad and the government freezes your bank account, you don't have access to your money. In the future, if you do something bad, yes, the government could arrest you, but they don't have the right to take your cryptocurrency. Yeah, that is a really big thought. And there was a case, I think in the UK, where this guy stole $2 million of Bitcoin from another person. They caught him, and they prosecuted him. But he didn't give the $2 million back. He's like, well, if I'm going to go to jail, I'm just going to keep the money. There's just no way that the government can reverse the transaction because it's not in their control.
So, how long was he in prison?
I didn't follow up on the story, but yeah, I mean, it's a immutable product. It's permissionless, and
it's like if you stole $2 million, how long would you be willing to go to jail for to keep the $2 million? Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think what is your current project, Pacific Theory? That's mainly like your current project.
I've got a couple of them. So I've started a couple of companies. One of them was called the Neon Den, which is kind of like
that was your streaming.
Yeah, that was a streaming platform, and it was also kind of like an entertainment company where we'd bring in other artists, other DJs, people that did like LED art and just kind of like neon glow in the dark fashion. So it was kind of like the idea is what would you find inside of a neon den? You'd find that music and that beat and that vibe, but you'd also find like the fashion behind it. So neon den is kind of like fashion, entertainment, and music kind of like wrapped up into one company, so that you could go to like one place, you can find music, you can find shows, be like, hey, this is the type of music, this is the type of like, you know, vibe I'm looking for. And you can like search and be like, okay, this is where it's going to be that night on that calendar. You can buy tickets, and then you could also like shop and be like, these are the type of clothes that I want to be wearing, and have the cool glasses if you want like the neon jackets, like black light kind of stuff. So I've always loved neon, UV light, reactive materials. So I just wanted to start something with the Neon Den. Pacific Theory is more of a new brand with some newer artists. And we have a residency music company where we go and record music, and it's been pretty cool. There's a Twitch stream. It's very COVID friendly. CDC guidelines followed, and it's been a success week after week. You know, now we're setting up a silent disco on the beach, Crystal Pier, Pacific Beach. If you want to come check it out.
What day?
This Sunday we actually have a show. So
this Sunday, what is that?
It's the 14th, Valentine's Day. It's going to be called Sunset Hearts.
Okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
We have Sunset Hearts coming up, and we've got members. We've got One Knob, Ridiculous. We got Scott T. We got Mike E. VEZY. So yeah, it's a group of just wild, ambitious artists.
And that's mainly house music, or what is the genre?
No, we play a little bit of everything: hip hop, bass, house music, electronic.
Okay.
Big room.
Good variety.
Good variety. You know, it's something for everybody.
That's what you need. When you start like cornering the genre, it's just like, I don't know. It wears on my mind. I like to have some variety every time I go anywhere.
I mean, people that have been in my shows, they know. I'll play Metallica, Blink-182. I'll play Red Hot Chili Peppers. There really is no rhyme or reason of what track I will or will not play. And I think that people really like receive that, and they're like, this is really cool that you're putting alternative music into like a dance platform, because I don't know that many artists that do it. So I just want to try to keep a unique sound to be like, hey, you can come to my show and like, you know, Nirvana may come out, or like, you know, Katy Perry, or, you know, any of this obscure artists that you would not expect to be in like a house track.
Interesting. Cool. Well, I think that, is there anything else you wanted to say?
Specific Theory, yeah, we've got a couple. We've got the music company on Wednesdays. Twitch, if you want to see us on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/Pacific Theory.
Is there a certain day you guys stream?
Yeah, Wednesdays we're going to be streaming, and we're probably going to be streaming on our Instagram, so follow us at Pacific Theory. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm VEZY Music, so that's VEZY Music.
On Instagram?
And you can find me on all platforms: Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook.
God, I hate Twitter.
I
downloaded it just to get like crypto news, and like it sends me the worst fucking shit. Like I want like relevant information, but it sends me everything but the relevant information I actually want. Yeah, do you have anything on YouTube, or?
You know, the Pacific Theory YouTube has not been launched yet. The Neon Den is also available on virtually all platforms. So at the Neon Den, Twitter, that is on YouTube.
Okay.
And I was doing a couple things with a group called House of Sunsets, and there's a couple live streams on there, some music and.
Cool. Sick. Well, thank you for coming by. I think that's all we got time for. But I would love to talk to you again, and we'll see where this Bitcoin thing goes. Actually, one more question. How long do you think that this upcycle is going to happen? When do you think we'll see our next dip?
So there's a slogan that goes around that when governments fail, Bitcoin will rise. And right now we're kind of in a moment of a financial crisis with this pandemic. The Federal Reserve is printing money like water, and that is going to cause an increase in this. Bitcoin's supply is finite. It's digital scarcity. Only 21 million coins are ever going to exist in the Bitcoin space.
And there's actually less because a bunch of them were lost.
Yeah, so you've got things called...
Probably like 19 million.
You've got things called burned accounts. That's like people that have died and their accounts are going to be frozen. There is no way to access those accounts without the private key. And just for viewers at home, the private keys for Bitcoin is around 77 to 80 digits long. And just to put that number in perspective, a number that has 77 zeros after it accounts for more than all the known atoms in the universe. So if you're calculating all the hydrogen that's out there in the universe, this number is bigger than that. So if you're looking at a computer that's going to be able to hack that, it's not really feasible. And the amount of resources that you would need to put in to just hack one account of Bitcoin, you would virtually need all the computers on the planet working on that simultaneously, which is a great... So therefore, Bitcoin has become a great treasure hunt. It's giving access. If you want to try to hack and break the system, go for it. And it hasn't been done yet. And anybody that has computing power like that to hack a Bitcoin account could just mine it. And if you use it correctly, you would generate more income by using the system fairly than by going against it. So there's a lot of...
That's very interesting.
So it's called...
It gives incentive to use it in the proper way.
Exactly. And a lot of people say, well, the governments just are going to shut it down. If the governments wanted to shut it down, they would do what I just mentioned. If they're going to use that much computing power, they would just start generating Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And because if you try to there's something called a 51% attack, and that is if 51% of the users agree to something, then it'll go through. So what happens when you have the world?
Yeah, I heard Vitalik talking about this.
Yeah, so so basically it's just like what would it take to hack? It would need to take every single person, you, me, and that's where this all lies from, is because the government is a very small amount of people, in comparison to the population. And people want things to work well, and that's what's called the trust algorithm, and it's the first of its kind. And that's how this all works, is on an algorithm that uses trustless enterprises. And so if you're trying to get 51% of the community, which is going to become harder and harder the more that people start firing these up on their cell phones, there's incentive to just generate Bitcoin. Because right now Bitcoin is, like 40K?
Yeah. And
every block, I mean, these are all just numbers, but like every 10 minutes, 6 new coins are generated. So that's 6 times 40. So $240,000 of Bitcoin is generated every 10 minutes as this podcast is going on.
Yeah.
So anybody that
most of that's being bought up by Grayscale.
Right.
Or like all the big names now.
So anybody that wants to use that much computing power, that's your reward system.
Yeah.
You're either going to try to steal the money, which is illegal and wrong, or you could just use the system correctly and generate, $250,000 every 10 minutes. And that's what this race is more and more computers and mining farms are popping up. And
to a lot of people, that might seem like a lot of money, but in comparison to the Federal Reserve, which we had only, like a couple $1 trillion printed from the time of the Federal Reserve's inception till last year, we doubled the amount of the U.S. dollars in the economy.
Yeah, in circulation, and that's another
doubled.
We haven't even seen the real fallout of what's going to happen with all this money being printed. And I kind of went to the grocery store. I was like, I'm starting to see food prices go up.
Yeah,
and that's only going to be the start. Is gas, normal novelties.
What I noticed went up was I told my mom to get a Southwest credit card so that they could get the frequent flyer miles. And you used to get a Southwest credit card, and then you pay $1,000 in the first 90 days, and you get 40,000 bonus miles and a companion pass. Now, the credit card stipulation is to get 30,000 bonus miles in the first 90 days, you have to spend $5,000, not $1,000. So you can already see right there that the credit card companies are already accounting for this money inflation. And I bet the annual fee is probably more than $70, which it used to be too. So you can already see that the big names like Visa and stuff, they're already accounting for this.
Yeah.
And the person that's going to understand it last is your common day people. Like once toilet paper is $50 or a pack.
Which will happen one day.
Especially if we see anything that happened like, we previously did. And that's just one good. When you start multiplying it by every good that you buy on a weekly basis, you're talking about a dramatic, like 3-4x in your monthly expenditures or more, like God forbid. But yeah. So getting something now, like Bitcoin, to hedge your, like to save your money, to save the value of your money, because you could save your $100,000 or whatever you have in your bank account now, but if your buying power is chopped in half or a third, like you're really doing yourself a disservice.
Well, it's just it comes to the notion of like what is money, and money is really just a language.
Yeah.
Money is a communication tool that people use to exchange value between each other, to show a sign of belonging of the community and to show your placement of value. And you hold a $20 bill in your pocket, and you think that we know that $20 bill tomorrow is still going to have that same spending power.
Yeah.
But in reality, that $20 bill in your pocket next year might have different spending power. So today you might be able to get 5 gallons of gas for that $20, but next year you're probably going to get 4 gallons.
Yeah.
And the year after that, maybe 3.8, 3.7.
Yeah.
So the spending value of your dollars absolutely is going down, and that is because they keep printing money.
Yeah. The inflation rate on the dollar was an average of -3% per year up until last year, when we doubled the money supply. So if you can imagine, you're losing 3% every year for
compounded
for the span of your lifetime. Our dollar has like 97% less buying power than since its inception.
Well, since like 100 years ago.
And since like 1913 or whenever the Federal Reserve came into play. And so, and now you take that, that last 3% of buying power, and you basically just decimated it with, the money printing that's going on. So yeah, actually most of my, my money is in cryptocurrency now. And it's something, it triggered me when, I heard CZ, which is, the CEO of Binance, talking. He said, I don't hold fiat. Like, he doesn't hold any fiat. The only time he holds fiat is when he travels, and he has to. Like, but it's instantly transferred out of BNB into cash in whatever country and paid for at that time. But all of his holdings are either Bitcoin or BNB.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard the all-inners, which is if you had have done what you're describing a couple years ago, it's a no-brainer. It absolutely works.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of the knowledge of just knowing, like, when the Federal Reserve starts printing more dollars, that just increases the fraction of dollar to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because of Bitcoin's finite supply. So at the more money that they print, you're going to start seeing the dollar spending power go down. You're going to start seeing the Bitcoin buying power go up. So to hold all your money into crypto, there's more and more people that have chosen to do that. And I don't recommend it because, like you said, the average person, you could get hurt. If you're trying to pay your mortgage next month and you put your entire life savings into it, stuff is volatile. It can lose 90% of its value very easily before it recovers. Now it can recover, and it usually does, just like any stock. But
yeah, you want to be in a bull cycle. You don't want to hold crypto through a bear market. But yeah, since I got in last year when the crash happened right after COVID hit, I've had nothing but upside. And now I'm probably almost 90%. I'm like 80 to 90% in crypto, and the rest in cash.
Well, that's a wildfire seat to be in, because you probably watch your account go woo 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 woo. It's just stuff.
Yeah, I've learned to disconnect my emotion from it, because I know where it's headed. I know that I have enough cash in my reserves to keep me stable for 3 to 4 months, and I know that most cycles only last a month and a half on the Bitcoin cycle. So I'm basically covered. You know what I mean? And it's not like it's going to go to zero. It's not going to swing 90%. I mean, God forbid it can, but only when like the announcement of like COVID last year happened have I seen it.
Yeah,
swing that much.
I think it dropped about 70% because it was
it was like 8,000. It dropped to 3,800.
Well, it was at 20K, and then it reached a new like all-time low. Then it reached a new low about 3K. So that's you could do the math. It's a pretty steep. It's around 70-80% drop in price. Yeah, which is extremely volatile.
But that was we were in quite different market conditions at that time, and it was the price was built on a lot more retail and FOMO and like speculation versus now where it's built on a hedge against the dollar.
And more businesses, more people are just flat out accepting it, and that's evidently where the strength is going to come is when people start accepting it, where you want to go pay for a haircut and you can start paying it in Bitcoin. You can go, get your nails done in Bitcoin. You can get lawyer services, anything. You can buy your real estate agent. You'll be able to buy a house with Bitcoin. And in Florida, they already are doing that. I know that Lamborghini actually, some people don't know this, Lamborghini accepts Bitcoin. So if you want to go buy a Lamborghini, you can buy one in Bitcoin.
Yeah, I think these big, expensive companies starting to accept that's just tremendous, because that's gonna, because it's nice that like people like me and you and like our money level is like that we use it, but when millionaires and billionaires start using it, that makes a huge difference in the price, and holding it.
I mean, a decentralized currency
that stabilizes the price a lot more too. It's not as volatile.
A decentralized currency that is not controlled by the banks, not controlled by the governments, borderless. You can send it across the world at virtually no cost. Who on the planet wouldn't want that? And that's the real question. And so many people are like, "Oh, I just can't wrap my head around the Bitcoin thing." And it's like, well, when you were 5 years old, you couldn't wrap your head around driving a car. But you figured it out. So
you couldn't wrap your head around writing a check either.
Exactly. So it's like, there's a little bit of the learning curve, but you can get this, and you will. And so I'm very optimistic that more and more people are going to accept this and start using it. I've done the math, I've run it. It's intuitively obvious.
Yeah. What do you think about Ripple?
It's all the different, when this first came out, I thought that there'd only be like a handful of currencies that would like work.
Yeah.
And I was kind of wrong about that. A lot of people don't like Ripple because it was kind of created by the banks, and it's almost showing the banks like you as well, like you're going to be financially irresponsible to ignore this technology. So Ripple's purpose is basically to go to the major banks all over the world, Chase, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all the major financial institutions, and kind of set their systems up. And they've been testing the network. I remember when Ripple sent like $100 million in the blink of an eye for like $50, which is incredible. If you wanted to send $100 million across the world using wire transfers, they would probably take 50. They would take a lot in a banking fee, probably thousands and thousands of dollars. Yeah. So just being able to transfer money on that scale and have it cost pennies, like micro pennies, it saves the banks money. Yeah. And even the banks have opportunity to grow using this technology. This isn't something that's necessarily going to destroy banks, but banks are going to have to adapt, just like banks had to get online.
Yeah, the IMF has been they're going through a phase right now of discussing this deeply, and well, the one thing that was really interesting is like the SEC like is suing Ripple and everything. You saw the XRP price just like plummet, but the guy's like, look, like XRP's client base is worldwide. We have the U.S. is a big country, but it's only one country out of the whole world that's like got a problem with what we're doing. And I literally like watched the price hit like 22 cents, and I was like, I saw support levels at 17 cents, and I was like, dude, if it hits 17 cents, it's gonna recover and be back at 25. And I made a killing. Off of like a 2-day V-shaped recovery, and now Ripple's all the way back up to 50 cents.
Well, yeah, Ripple's now in the tens of billions of dollars for market cap as far as how much capital that they have. And when you look at the SEC trying to fight something like that that's growing, you're going to start to see that the SEC is going to lose that battle.
Yeah.
And Ripple is going to be able to keep that in court indefinitely. And the SEC is probably going to be like, it's not worth it. And the SEC is trying to fit that square peg in a round hole. It doesn't fit, All the governments want cryptocurrencies in their realm. The SEC wants cryptocurrencies as securities so that they can tax it.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve wants cryptocurrency as cash so that they can control it. But it just does not fit into their programs. It just does not fit, and they can scream and kick. And I personally believe that a lot of the litigation it's just a way to put food on those people's table. Like, some guy has to get up and put a suit on and go to court and sue people, and that's realistically just how he supports himself. Whether or not he's correct or wrong is irrelevant. That's just how they live their lives.
Yeah, that is his job.
That's just his job. So for him, he's just like, this is just my job for the day. But if you're going to try to fight cryptocurrency and try to ban it, it's a lost battle, you know? And again,
adoption will be the true deciding factor.
And when you want to, if a government wants to stop something that is so useful for its citizens, the government's got to come up with justification for that. And when their countries, this is their only means of food, how do you justify taking away that from people? That's it's like saying people that people drive drunk and high on the roads, so we need to ban driving because of some individuals drive drunk on the roads. It's like, well, what about everybody else that's using the roads to get into and from work?
Yeah.
So it's really, when you look at it, you realize it's just a lost battle as far as the government trying to stop this or to ban it. Because what happens in the laws and what happens on the ground are two totally different things. No government has ever been able to ban anything.
Yeah. One thing that's very interesting about XRP is my friend's big in the XRP army, and he showed me a very interesting statistic. When the crash happened, when the SEC lawsuit was announced, the XRP rich list was increasing. The top 10 accounts or whatever were drastically increasing, and all the other accounts were the ones selling. So all of retail is what was selling, but all the major holders of XRP were actually increasing they weren't little camera malfunction, but we're back just to close out the segment.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for all your knowledge on especially the cryptocurrency, but also the music. So basically we were just ending with talking about XRP, and there's all kinds of other coins that you could, get in to speculate. But to preserve your wealth long term, Bitcoin is always going to be the the flagship.
Well, I mean, it's the next revolutionary step in money. I mean, if you look, throughout the course of human history, money has changed several times, back from Samoan days, from debt collection to, indigenous tribes trading shells and hides for clothing, to the Romans using metal nuggets to exchange value, from them crushing the nuggets into coins. Yeah. And then, the Roman government, snipping the coins to tax. Yeah. To paper money, to certificates of deposits, to and now we're in a phase where it's kind of plastic, where we're using credit cards, and that kind of is what our money is. So this makes sense as far as the next evolutionary step, as far as what money is going to be used, and that's going to be cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and the thing about our digital economy at the moment is that our money isn't backed by anything. Once we got off the gold standard, and the interesting thing about gold right now is for so many years, people have held their wealth in gold because it relatively retains its value and is not volatile. However, the gold price has three problems. The gold price is manipulated. Also, gold as a physical entity, piece of metal, is not as easily and quickly divisible and bought and sold as crypto, like Bitcoin, is. And then also the fact that a lot of gold is illegally mined by third world country villages where it's their only way of surviving, and they're doing very dangerous work. Like, compared to coal mining, it's insanely more dangerous, where these gold mines are in water, and these guys, I've seen this documentary on where this guy will literally go down feet underneath the water and work for 6 hours underwater with a tube that's being ran by an air compressor, like feeding him air, and like in murky water that you can't even see in. And I'm like, that's just crazy. And I mean, if one thing goes wrong, he's down in basically a mud hole, like 15 feet down, and if any of that collapses, he's dead. If the compressor shuts off, he's dead. And like, also that they can ship out that gold pennies on the dollar to companies that are selling it for, $2,000 a pound or an ounce. Yeah. So just as far as like keeping people safe, also cryptocurrency makes a huge difference. And that's a lot of, it goes along with how like there's so many places that are unbanked. These people, like, if they're going through that much work to extract that kind of precious metals, they're not getting paid nearly what it's worth.
No, they're getting paid like rice grains to basically like raise like hundreds of thousands of dollars a day from their mining efforts, but they probably get paid in rice or something. Cool.
So I just want to say I will have a referral code linked for Binance.us in the description. If you want to sign up there, that is my preferred way of getting into cryptocurrency. If you would like to, you can also use Coinbase, but the fees are a bit higher. Binance tends to have the lowest fees. There's also other exchanges that you can use, but that would be my preferred route of acquiring some cryptocurrency if you're interested.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Corey, for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We'll have you on soon.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And you said Saturday is Sunday.
All right,
Sunday the 14th?
Yeah, we got 2 events coming up. We've got a DJ competition at the music company. Go to, to be honest, I don't even remember their website. But you can find them online. They're the music company, San Diego. Vote VEZY, $1 equals 1 vote. And we're doing the DJ competition. That's going to be on Twitch. And then Saturday night, we're going to be doing the Eat Your Heart Out. And that's going to be up in Vista. So we're literally driving from Pacific Beach at midnight all the way up to Vista. Close a little after hours out, and then Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. we're going to do the Sunset Hearts at Crystal Pier. So if any of those sound interesting, send us a message.
Awesome. Alex Villalobos, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Surf's up, Godspeed, live loud, and peace out. Surf's up, fam. Corey here. Thanks for tuning in to the episode. We're still growing, so we're really happy you hung in with us and made it to the end. Remember, perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. Please like, subscribe, comment, and hit the notification bell, as well as check out our Patreon link in the description if you would like to support us. We'll be seeing you in the waters of life's next swell. So prepare well and exercise your freedom. Thanks for listening, and if you have an interesting story of your own, Surf's Up would love to hear it. Email us for scheduling at surfsuppodcasts@gmail.com. Disclaimer. Surf's Up Podcast is for entertainment and inspirational purposes only. It does not endorse any of the activities discussed on the show. It is Surf's Up intention to inspire the San Diego community and communities beyond by sharing the stories of our brothers and sisters we share dance floors with, and the creators that organize the events and share their art with us. We're all surfing this wave of life together, and we must remember to stay connected and raise each other up. And remember, we're all artists at heart, so share yourself with your community. In the words of JFK, a rising tide lifts all boats. Thanks for listening in, and if you have any interesting story of your own, Surf's Up would love to hear it. Surf's Up, fam.